What is up, boys and girls around the world? Salami squad, stand up. It is the meat pack in the building. It is your boy, Mike Richman, and I'm here with the one, the only, the hockey guru, Jimmy. What is up, my guy? How are you living? It has been a minute since we have seen that beautiful face.
Oh, you're far too kind. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the hockey world is turned against me, all right?
Okay, tell me about it.
Every time I try to turn on the Flyers, they just make me depressed and sad.
Welcome to Philly,
as it were. Yeah, welcome to Philly lifestyle per se. So let's hop right into it. Let's get right into the Flyers news per usual. So the Flyers are 4-6 in their last 10, but don't let that fool you. This is a way worse team than a 4-6 record against some good teams. They are currently 18th overall in the entire league, and they are tied with the New York Rangers. So initially, 18th place obviously is pretty bad, and you look at a 4-6 record in the last 10, and you say you're having a bad stretch, but it's not. It could be worse, right?
For sure.
When we look at the Rangers the past couple of weeks, before they got hot, they were in the bottom two in the Eastern Division. They were fighting to stay out of the bottom between them and the Buffalo Sabres, who are the worst team in the league. So I think right now it's a combination between the Rangers really getting hot and the Flyers absolutely in a freaking tailspin.
Yeah.
These games, dude, they're hard to watch. It's not enjoyable anymore. I'd rather watch 3 baseball games back to back than watch one Flyers game at this point.
I haven't peeped the scores lately. Like, are they getting blown out, goal wise as well, or is it just straight losses? You know what I'm saying? Like, are they playing bad? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So before our little hiatus, they got blown out by the Rangers 9-0. 9-0.
Yeah, and like we're talking about hockey right now. Like, that's insane.
It's unprecedented. The last time they got beaten that bad was in the 60s.
Wow.
Like teams don't. It's like you can. There's been like 7-goal games, 8-goal games, maybe an occasional 9-goal game, but to let up 9 goals and then not get a single goal against, it's like. I don't know what to explain. It's like
it's fucked up.
They're playing terrible. I'm trying to like watch these games and like delve into why I think this team is crumbling. There's so many variables, there's so many reasons, but at the baseline of it is that they don't want it. I honestly think that the talent is there. They have youth. They have 3 pretty much head coach pedigree coaches on the bench. But they still lose. They still, it's like they'll lose big games. They'll lose close games. When I mean big, I mean like get blown out games.
Yeah.
They'll lose close games. It's like all the entire team, they look unenthused. They don't look fast. They're losing puck battles. They just look like they don't want to play. It's sad. And you can tell at this point, in my opinion, that I think the coach lost the locker room. I think I was
going to say, yeah, that's kind of the immediate, when the team is doing bad like that and you have all the talent, you got all the assets, it gets blamed on the coach. Let's flip switches here and look at the Sixers. I mean, Brent Brown's in there, dude. We're talking about a shit show all around, and then they turned right back around this year with one of the best NBA coaches, and they're doing incredible. So talent's there. Who we got for the Flyer coaches? You see a possible couple firings coming up towards the end of the season. What do you think on that?
So the thing with Philadelphia is that, it's like a working class town, blue collar, and they like people who work hard. And the 2 coaches that I think that have the most to blame on, the most on their shoulders are head coach Alain Vigneault and then the power play coach Chris Therien. So Chris Therien came in at the same time as Alain Vigneault, so they're the same tenure in this city. So
new regiment.
Yep, 2 years. But the Flyers' penalty or power play has been terrible for the past like 5 years. They've had like one good stretch in the last 4 seasons where they're red hot. But besides that, and from my own memory, my own recollection, their power play has never been good. Now you get Chris Therien, I believe, was a head coach somewhere. He has like a really good coaching pedigree. He has a good resume. And you think that having a bunch of bright minds on the bench like that would spark this team, get some creative plays, you know what I'm saying? Because obviously what's happening is not working. Yeah. Obviously it's like it's like the definition of insanity. You're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So you'd think that with all these great minds behind the bench that they would figure something else out. You know what I mean? Just throw shit at the wall, see if it sticks.
Facts.
But obviously nothing's happening. So I'm going to get into this a little later, but I'll bump up on the queue here. So I looked at the last couple of years stats for the Flyers and how many like their points and their like point differentials. They were a good team. They were not a bad team before they got the new coach. In the last 3 years, mind you, this is with Dave Haxtell, which is a terrible, terrible coach who almost ruined the team mentally, not on the points, mentally. But the last 3 seasons, they were at 82 points, 98 points, and 88 points. Now, that's not the top of the league. That's not a President Cup trophy winner. That's not a number 2 seed. That's like a number 3, possibly number 2 seed.
Solid performance.
Yeah, so they weren't bad. They were just losing in the first round to the Penguins multiple times. And so I think what they wanted to do was to get a coach who made a run to the Stanley Cup Finals, who's been to the playoffs with Alain Vigneault with the Rangers, because they had years of success pretty much.
So all that experience, yeah.
Right, exactly. And so they bring him in, and I was immediately excited because that guy was a pain in my ass for years. The Rangers were always competitive, and up until the last 2 or 3 years when they weren't. They're in like a rebuild, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But they've always been good, and so they bring in this high pedigree coach, and they don't perform. Last year it was weird because they lose 2 main players in my opinion. They lose Tyler Pitlick, who is a third line grinder.
Yep.
He's a guy who's going to get pucks deep, obviously, win board battles. He's a smaller guy, but he can shoot. He's a good assister.
Need that.
Yep, and you lose Matt Niskanen, and that I talked to this before. He's that second defenseman to Ivan Provorov.
Yep.
He's a guy you rely on. That your first defensive pair is your anchor. You absolutely need to have a good first line defensively. They lose them, and they get into a tailspin this year, obviously. But I don't think that's the only reason. I think that these players haven't bought in fully to the.
That's a problem, dude. That's a huge problem.
Because seeing you lose 2 players, like how do you know what I mean? How do 2 players make much of a difference for a team that made a deep playoff run? So I'm looking at the goaltending stats, and according to MoneyPuck.com, shout out MoneyPuck.
Shout out.
The goaltending is bottom 5 in the league, and that's with 2 goaltenders. That's with Brian Elliott and Carter Hart.
And you're talking league, not division.
The only team who's worse is the Ottawa Senators, and they're in second to last place in the entire league.
Sick. So the Phillies just giving up mad goals and not getting them back on the other end.
Yeah, that's another point I wanted to make was the player development and the veterans not stepping up. So right now, there's 3 players that stick out to me who are young and who are growing, who need to step up their game. There's no excuse at this point. Travis Konechny, Oscar Lindblom, and Nolan Patrick. Now, there is a disclaimer for the last 2. Nolan Patrick took a year off last year, didn't play a lick of hockey because of concussions. Lindblom obviously had the battle of his life. God bless him. Shout out Lindblom for going through that and surviving. But listen, they're strapping up and they're playing hockey. They're getting paid to play. I understand they didn't play it a lot last year. For Patrick, he didn't play at all. But to not have any points in 10-plus games, they get benched every other game. It's like,
yeah, no, I agree with you. All things aside, like when you're on the ice, if you can be out there, you got to perform to your max.
Yep.
You know, if you're not, sit down, son. Like, let's get some bodies in there going to shoot that thing.
Right. And I look at Nolan Patrick. He was the 2nd overall pick, and I think it was 2018 whenever he got picked. He was 2nd overall. And you look at the other players in his draft class. There's Nico Hischier, Cale Makar. Granted, these are defensemen, but these players are literally the anchor, like the hammer points for their respective teams. Cale Makar is probably a top 5 defenseman at this point. It's his 3rd year in the league.
That's crazy.
He holds down Colorado, and Colorado's in, I think, 3rd place or second place right now, led by a great defensive pairing with him. And I forget who the second pairing is, but it's a good player, believe me. So I was looking more into like the special teams play, and I wanted to figure out why, like, what the hell is actually happening. So they are 20th in power play percentage, and that is abysmal. But do what's worse? The worst stat is they are 2nd worst in penalty kill at almost 80%. So
holy shit, bro! Oh my god!
8 out of 10 power plays or penalty kills are letting up goals. That's an abysmal number. It's an abysmal number.
Literally at an advantage. Like
honestly.
Yeah,
And the
that's
way I look
crazy.
at that is on the penalty kill, you're giving up goals, and on the power play, you're not scoring goals.
Yeah.
And special teams is so crucial, I think, in any sport. And with basketball, free throws, it's a crucial part of the game. And in hockey, it's like you have to capitalize. And especially when I look at the last game against the Bruins, it was a winnable game, honestly, against a really good Bruins hockey team. They go into the third period after a dominant second period. They go into the third period tied, and it's late in the game, and they have a power play, and you have to put this team away early. You have to put Boston away and get them off the ice. They let up a short-handed goal to Brad Marchand, and they lose the game 4-2 off an empty net.
Oh my God!
On shot. It's like there's so many things that go wrong. It's hard to pinpoint.
Yeah.
You could I remember talking about this earlier in the show about the defense and how goaltenders can't do everything by themselves. But at a certain point, the goaltending has to do something. The goaltending has to be there. It's inexcusable to have against the Islanders a couple games ago. In the first period, they had 5 shots. The Islanders had 5 shots on goal. And it did 2 goals. So it's like there's so many things that are going wrong, and it is a disappointing time to be a hockey fan or a Flyers
fan for sure. Yeah.
The good news is, though, the Flyers just signed Cam York, the 14th overall pick in 2019.
Big acquisition.
He's a young defenseman who is, I think, a defensive player of the year in the college hockey rink. He played for Michigan. So he's on the horizon. I mean, he's going to walk into a dumpster fire. So I mean, if he wants to come up early, I'll let the boy play.
Hey, dude, he might mess around and get a banner on that building or something.
I don't know about that, but we'll definitely get some excitement. Okay, so let's get into the league news. I'm tired of talking about the boys. I'm just sick and tired of looking at
boys are having a rough couple weeks here, man.
I know, but the Phillies and Sixers are doing well, so I'm not off the edge yet. All right, so let's get into the league standings. So in first place, we got the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's pretty crazy to me. I really didn't think they had the skill. Well, obviously, they have the skill, but I didn't think they had the defense to really push for first place again. As you recall, the last video we talked about how they dropped to third or fourth place. And they're among good competition, obviously. If you look at the next couple teams down, they're in good competition. So good for them. I mean, as long as they can keep consistent, they can get a first seed probably in their division and play an easier team. But yet again, it's like the Capitals' dilemma. They'll play excellent in the regular season, but then in the playoffs,
you gotta get on that post-game stretch, dude. Yeah, you gotta be able to piece some stuff next to each other in the postseason. It's not just one game anymore.
Mm-hmm. And then second place, we got Colorado.
Nice.
This team, I remember we talked in the last couple of videos about how I didn't think that they were as good as their record was admitting them to be.
Kind of on the come up, dude.
Yeah, they were in 12th place, and I think they were in 17th place at one point.
Wow.
This team is absolutely turn it on. Their stars are clicking, and that's a team that knows what they're doing. They know they have stars. They know they have a top 3 goaltender with Grubauer. And again, Cale Makar talked about that earlier. They have a defensive pair that's shut down.
Yeah.
They have 2 or 3 lines of solid offense that absolutely terrorize anybody on the defense, including goaltenders. So look for them. I think a little playoff prediction. I think it's between them and the Vegas Golden Knights. Honestly, I know it's the 2 favorites.
Yeah.
But at this point in the West, I really don't see anybody making a run against them. Maybe the Wild, but that's a long shot. So in third place, we have Florida. Florida's been there the entire time.
Wow, man. Yeah, they really have.
Since we've been talking, they've been in the top 5 the entire time. Good on them. That's a team that needs a W for sure. They've been a burning trash can for years.
Down bad for a minute, dude. And then they got to turn around and look at the Lightning the whole time.
I know. The big brother mentality. I think that if they face the Lightning in the playoffs, look for a battle. Look for an absolute war.
Who do you think gets the edge in that matchup real quick, though, if they were to play each other?
At this point, probably the Lightning.
Yeah.
Only from a skill standpoint. Now, I'm not sure about when Kucherov is coming back. They're the Lightning's best player, in my opinion. I'm not sure when he's coming back. When he does, I guarantee he'll make an impact.
Yeah.
But then again, you have to look at he hasn't played all season, coming off a hip injury.
It'll take a week or 2, yeah.
Yep. So, but at this point, I think that the Lightning still have more skill and talent and experience. I think that's the difference is experience. The Florida Panthers haven't been past this first round in probably 10 plus years, maybe more than that.
Yeah.
So I think that the Lightning have the advantage, but look for an underdog story. I mean, anything can happen in a weird season like this. I think that anything can happen, and I would love to see an upset. In fourth, we got Carolina, a constant threat in that division. They are just a solid young team. Look for them to be good for the next 10 plus years if they can lock up.
They're young, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah. And they have good goaltending. They have a good defensive first line pair.
That seems so important in today's NHL. You got to be able to play that defense, man.
You got to build up from the back, and that's where the Flyers were strong last year. They were really good defensively with shots against. And you look at teams who are winning now, they always have at least one good defensive pair because you only have 3. And so you have 2 players who are going to play probably 2/3 of the game. So they're on the ice most of the time. And you have to have good goaltending. Between a quarterback in the NFL and goaltending and maybe pitching, that's the most important parts of in sports, in my opinion. And then finally in fifth, we have the Lightning. I'm not sure what's happening right now. I think they got super hot super early. Yeah. I think they're in a kind of a cool down stage, but I don't think they're gonna absolutely get out of the top 5.
Probably heat back up towards the end of the season, start getting ready for that postseason run.
Yeah. Like we said earlier, the teams get hot at the right time.
Yep.
They're going to get
that's exactly what they did last year, right? They won the whole fucking thing.
Yep, they got super hot at the right time. They beat their demons by beating the Blue Jackets in the first round. Good on them. That's an incredible story. But I want to look at more into the top 10 teams. The Wild are still in the top 10, which is really good for them. I believe they're 9th place at this point. I'll look for them to make a good amount of noise in the playoffs. Again, I don't think they're going to really give Colorado or the Golden Knights much of a threat. Okay, but who knows? Again, it's a weird
playoff hockey, man. Yeah.
Yep. I look at Pittsburgh in the top 10. I believe the 10th spot. That team, I hate them. I hate Pittsburgh. I hate them so much, more than any team in any league in any sport. I hate them, but they know how to do it. they know how to get it done. They've had multiple goaltenders with Matt Murray and Tristan Jarry and Marc-Andre Fleury in the past couple of years, and they rotate him out, but it doesn't seem to matter.
That's just a successful franchise. Oh, yeah. I'm not even huge on the hockey. I know about Pittsburgh.
Yeah, for years they've been dominant with Mario Lemieux and obviously Crosby and Malkin. They have Gensel now. And they've had guys like Letang, a great first pairing defenseman. So they built out defensively, and they build the team around it. And they've had teams with speed. They've had teams with just skill, and it's a good franchise. It's
making it work. Yeah,
a winning franchise. So I want to get now into my playoff quote unquote favorites at this point. Yeah. It's a little bit early, but it's past the halfway point. You can pretty much determine the playoff teams.
For obviously.
Sure. So in the East, I think the Panthers. Obviously, we talked about this. They'll make a pretty good run unless they run into their big brother, the Lightning, and we'll see what happens there. Carolina,
a juicy matchup, dude. I would love to watch that.
I'm telling you that if that happens, it's going to be like a war. It's going to be so much fun. Carolina obviously looks good. I think that the big favorite, though, honestly, probably I don't think it's the Lightning. I think it's the Islanders at this point. A little bit of a hot take. I know, kind of differentiated from the path a little earlier, but just recently, I believe this was yesterday, they made a trade for Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac from the Devils. So what happened with them is they lost Anders Lee, and he's been their anchor. He's probably their best player at this point. I think Matt Barzal takes that spot in a couple years when he gets a little older. But Anders Lee is like a big hulking dude. He's huge, but he's quick and he can score. So he keeps you off the puck and he can put it in the net. Awesome. He's been doing that for years, and he's been dominant. And so he goes out. He's out for the whole season. So what do? They make the right moves, and they get some damn good players from the Devils. Now, Kyle Palmieri is a monster. I think that he's severely underrated. I think that he's been on a shitty team his whole career, and I think that he's going to turn it around and have a really, really good end of the year. And then Travis Zajac, he's a great second or third liner. He's going to probably net them 10 more goals this season, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But having those two players, I think, bolsters their lineup, and it really takes Anders Lee's position, or like his impact rather, and they they change it from like a big hulking man standpoint to speed, and I think that's a smart idea. I think that they have more. They're a team that's really good defensively. Obviously, we keep talking about that, but they have skill and size. So I think that honestly, in a matchup between the Islanders and the Lightning, I think that little matchup from the conference championship last year, I think the Islanders take it in second.
Think they got the edge? They got just a little bit. That sounds like just a shootout series, though. It sounds like that'd be a good little war going on.
No, yeah, I think it goes to 7. Absolutely, I think that it takes. It won't even be like who's better than who. I think it's going to be whoever takes advantage of the chances.
Yeah,
whoever makes less mistakes. Because at this point, their 2 best players are out, and then when the playoffs roll around, Kucherov might be back, but he won't be the same player. So it'll be interesting. I'm really excited to watch. So let's head into the West. Obviously, we talked about this a little earlier. Colorado and the Golden Knights. Between them, I can't choose, honestly. I think the Golden Knights have such a big roster. They don't play with much speed. They play with strength, and they play with skill. They know what their game is. They know they're going to body you with Ryan Reeves. He's a big grinder guy. He's not a guy who scores, but he'll beat the hell out of you for doing anything to their star players. They got Marc-Andre Fleury and net, the old Flyers goaltender, or the Penguins goaltender, who won them 2 Stanley Cups.
Nice.
So it's tough. I might give the advantage to Colorado initially, but we'll see what happens later in the year.
It kind of just feels like that's the right move.
Yeah, I think that we're definitely going to see a matchup between them in the playoffs. Again, the Wild may make a run, and maybe Chicago, maybe. I mean, they're on the cusp of being a good team again. It kills me though, because I hate them as well, and they never really did a rebuild. Like they had their dynasty, but like especially with like Philly teams, you have a good team that you're paying for the next couple of years. Like the Eagles they're paying for their Super Bowl. Believe
Facts.
me. Absolutely. All right, so finally, let's get into some trade news. Obviously, I talked about this. Islanders bolstered their roster with Travis Sajak and Kyle Palmieri.
It's juicy, man, and that's just got to be preparation for the offseason, right? Or postseason. They're just starting to gear up.
Yeah, because they knew they had to make a move, and obviously they went to the conference championship last year against the Lightning.
Yep.
And so their window is now, and I honestly expect them to make a deep run. We talked about earlier, but I think that's a genius play. They gave up a first rounder, which is tough. But at this point, if you're selling the farm to win a championship, I say go for it.
Yeah, let's do it now. Exactly. Yep.
It's so tough to win this league. It's so hard to find a good roster. I think that this is their time to win, and they're going to push for it.
Nice. So
Eric Stahl from the Buffalo Sabres went to the Canadiens. He's a veteran. He's been around for as long as I've been a hockey fan. Him and his brother Jordan Stahl. Eric Stahl, I think, still has a lot in the tank. He's an older guy, but I think on a young Canadiens roster, he is going to turn that team and push them to the next level.
Even just that locker room, having a veteran guy like that, I mean, that's incredible to have. Just having someone around in the team like that, even if he's not contributing as much as he could on the ice, that's still a bucket.
No, that's a great point. He's obviously a veteran leader, and like I said a little bit earlier, I think he's a lot in the tank still. I think that he will perform on the ice. I think he's playing with Buffalo, who's a dumpster fire.
Yeah, he's got it. Him himself even just has to be hungry to get out there and not have a shit team behind him. Like,
I don't remember who won between him and Jordan Stahl, but one of the brothers won. And if it wasn't him, I'm sure he's hungry. I think that he can help turn that team around in the next couple of years. Well, then again, with the Canadiens, the catch-22 with that is their goaltending with Carey Price. You don't know how much longer he has, but that's neither here nor there. That's not my problem. So, final 2 little trade shop rumors. The Sabres are shopping Jack Eichel. So Jack Eichel obviously was the 2nd overall pick behind Connor McDavid. And so this guy has tremendous – he obviously has tremendous skill, but I think that his ceiling is way higher than we think. I think that he is one of the fastest players in the league. I think he has an incredible shot. I think his playmaking ability is really underrated. So wherever he goes, they're going to make an immediate playoff run, especially if it's a cusp playoff team. I think they push them to the playoffs. If it's a playoff contender, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. If they can give him time to mesh with their system, I think that he's going to absolutely dominate. He's a smaller player, but you see with Matt Barzal and the Islanders, and Patrick Kane with the Blackhawks. Size doesn't equate to talent, honestly. We talked about this in the last show, how Patrick Kane is probably the best American player of all time. The dude's probably 3 inches taller than me. You know what I mean? And he's dominant.
He's like 4'1",
right? Anyway, and finally, talk about actually Chicago news. Brett Connolly to Chicago. That's Brett Connolly has been just an average player. I thought he was a little better than he was statistically. He was on the Capitals when they won the Stanley Cup. So I think with that is
got that ring.
Yeah, so I think that with that it's a veteran. It's a guy who's been around the block a couple times. Maybe it's a salary dump because he dumped a few other players, but I think that they're gonna move on him. I think this is a rental just to see what happens. If it works out, it works, but who knows?
Cool.
But anyways, that's all I got for today, my friend.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Jimmy, dude. All caught up on the NHL, dude. And yeah, we are a bit away, but I'm all for that postseason. That's really when I start to hone in. So we will get there. So Salami Squad, thanks for tuning in, boys.
Thank you.
We are the fuck out of here.
Perfect.